After 15 years growing Apple into a $4 trillion company, Tim Cook is stepping down, and the hardware engineer who built every iPhone and Mac of the last decade just got the keys. Tesla just tripled its capital spending to $25 billion, and Elon Musk says the Optimus robot goes to production in July. Meta and Microsoft together cut 20,000 jobs this week, and both companies gave the same reason. AI. Google put $40 billion on the table for a stake in Anthropic, the biggest AI infrastructure commitment any company has ever made, and Intel surged 25% overnight after revealing that the CPU, the chip everyone wrote off, is back at the center of the AI arms race. This is PatchLog, let's get into it. After 15 years and a tenfold increase in market cap, Tim Cook announced last week that he's stepping down as Apple's chief executive on September 1st. His replacement is John Ternus, the 51-year-old hardware engineering chief who's led every major Apple product launch since 2021. From the Apple Silicon transition to the Vision Pro, Cook isn't going far. He becomes executive chairman, staying on the board and advising Ternus directly. Bloomberg reported this week that Ternus's opening act as chief executive is the foldable iPhone, a device that would be Apple's biggest form factor shift since the original iPhone. Ternus is known inside Apple as the engineer's engineer. Low profile, direct, and obsessively focused on product quality. Whether he can handle the investor relations, the geopolitical chess, and the AI strategy pivot that Cook managed for 15 years is the biggest question in consumer tech right now. If he gets the foldable right, this transition looks like a masterstroke. If not, it's an expensive first impression. Tesla's Q1 earnings call this week revealed the company is tripling its 2026 capital spending to more than $25 billion, $5 billion more than guidance issued just 90 days ago. The money flows to 6 factories: a new chip fabrication facility in Austin called Terafab, Cybercab production lines, and the Optimus humanoid robot program, which the company confirmed goes to production in late July. Revenue hit $22 billion for the quarter, up 16% year-over-year and above estimates, but the CFO confirmed Tesla will go negative on free cash flow for the rest of the year. Tesla refused to demo the latest Optimus version publicly, saying competitors do frame-by-frame analysis of every reveal. The stock fell after the call, with investors uncertain whether they're buying a car company or financing a multi-decade robotics bet. Tesla's self-driving Cybercab is targeting several U.S. city launches in 2026, though material revenue is unlikely before 2027 at the earliest. Whether this is the greatest capital allocation decision in industrial history or the most expensive science project in corporate history depends entirely on your time horizon. This week, Meta and Microsoft combined for more than 20,000 job cuts, pushing 2026 tech industry layoffs past 96,000 in total. Meta is cutting roughly 10% of its workforce, about 8,000 people, effective May 20th, while Microsoft offered voluntary buyouts to staff ahead of expected cuts. Both companies gave the identical justification. They're redirecting payroll costs into AI infrastructure, with Meta guiding capital expenditure of up to $135 billion this year, nearly double what it spent in all of 2025. CNBC called the combination an inflection point, arguing the AI labor crisis has arrived in force. The economic logic is that as AI handles more operational work, companies need fewer humans even as revenue grows, a productivity gain that looks a lot like a pink slip to the people receiving notices. The big question is whether this is a permanent structural shift driven by AI capability, or a business cycle correction being dressed up in AI language to look inevitable. 88,000 more tech positions are flagged as at risk for the rest of 2026. Google confirmed Thursday it plans to invest up to $40 billion in Anthropic, $10 billion upfront at a valuation of $350 billion, with the remaining $30 billion contingent on performance milestones. The deal also includes 5 gigawatts of computing capacity from Google's data centers, which Anthropic will use to train and run its Claude models. Amazon announced its own $5 billion Anthropic investment the same week, meaning the AI startup secured over $45 billion in commitments from just 2 companies in 7 days. For context, Anthropic's run rate revenue was reported at $30 billion this year, So investors are paying close to 1.5 times annual revenue at a $350 billion valuation. Google is paying to ensure that one of its strongest AI competitors also depends on Google Cloud infrastructure, a strategy that turns a competitor into a customer. The subtext is that both Amazon and Google are now deeply invested in preventing OpenAI from pulling away in the race to build the dominant agentic AI platform. At these numbers, the AI infrastructure build-out has moved into territory that has no historical precedent in the technology industry. Intel stock soared 25% in a single session this week after the company beat Q1 revenue expectations by $500 million, reporting $13.6 billion in quarterly sales. With AI-related business at 60% of total revenue and growing 40% year-over-year, the surprise isn't the numbers, it's what's driving them, as agentic AI shifts from model training to inference. CPUs are coming back to the center of the data center. Intel's Xeon chips are landing data center contracts that previously went exclusively to NVIDIA, and the company announced a multi-year AI inference partnership with Google Cloud. Intel also confirmed the company is building chips for Elon Musk's Terafab facility in Austin, a single deal supplying silicon to SpaceX, xAI, and Tesla simultaneously. The company guided Q2 revenue at up to $14.8 billion, the sixth consecutive quarter of beating expectations, and said it expects strong double-digit server CPU growth through 2027. The AI era was supposed to be NVIDIA's decade, but the inference layer runs on different hardware. And Intel spent 3 years quietly positioning for this exact moment. If the shift from GPU training to CPU inference turns out to be structural rather than cyclical, Intel's comeback just became one of the great industrial stories of the decade. Apple's got a new chief executive, Tesla is betting $25 billion on robots. 20,000 tech workers are finding out what AI efficiency actually means, and Google just made the biggest AI investment in history. Drop your take in the comments, and if you want to stay ahead of the week in tech, subscribe and hit the notification bell. That's your patch log.